Hey everybody, welcome to another YouTube video with exercises for injuries. My name is Kaya. I am a yoga instructor and today we're talking yoga for stress relief. So we're going to go through 5 different exercises or yoga poses that you can do to decrease stress, calm down your nervous system. So often when we're stressed, we tend to hold that tension and stress in our hips and our shoulders, and physically stretching into those areas can provide a lot of emotional release as well as a physical one. So that's the areas we're focusing on with the poses that we're going to do today. And they're going to be pretty relaxing as well. So I'm going to get down on my mat. The first thing that I want to talk about though is breathing, because that's not only a core principle in yoga, but that's also one of the easiest, most effective ways that you can de-stress and come back to the present moment. So I wanted to just talk about when we're breathing, we tend to do kind of chest breathing, short, shallow breaths up in our chest. And that can be really anxiety provoking. If you think of a time when you're stressed or worried, you automatically kind of seize up, you're tight, you're tense, you're kind of up in your chest. And when we breathe in yoga, and hopefully that translates into other areas of your life, we start to take deeper breaths into our low belly. And then eventually that travels up into the rib cage and then up into the chest, and then you exhale, let it all go. So I'm going to go through a few deep breaths that you can just kind of to start to get the idea of what that means to take really deep breaths. Okay, so what I was doing is I was drawing my breath deep into my low belly, letting my low belly expand out, so we're not worried about how we look when we're doing this kind of breathing. Then up into the ribs, and then into the chest, and then the exhale lets it all go. So I'm going to invite you to use that breath throughout the whole sequence that we're about to do, and to come back to that kind of breathing when you feel stressed or overwhelmed. It's a way to directly come back to the present moment and back into your body. So let's go on to our first pose. So we're going to do a cat-cow. I have this in almost every video I do because there's just so many benefits for it. So we're going to come into all fours. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start to stretch into our spine and get some mobility moving there, increase the blood flow. So I'm coming into all fours. My hips are over my knees, shoulders over my wrists. And on my inhale, I tilt my tailbone up, my chest comes forward, and my belly drops down. To exhale, I round away from the ground, press away. Exhale. Inhale, chest expresses forward. Exhale, press away. So when you're doing this, I want you to really start to come into that connection of that sensation of breath and how your body feels while it's moving. So we're reserving judgment here. We're not being upset that maybe our muscles feel tight. We're just going to keep breathing and keep feeling into each movement that we make. And doing about 5 to 10 breath cycles of cat-cow. So I really like that one for first thing in the morning or before bed. It's a great way to wake up the spine and therefore the whole body. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is a child's pose. So super relaxing. The toes are going to come together, and then the more you separate the knees, the more you're going to work into the hips. So really tight hips, just bring the knees in a bit. So always an option to put a block or something underneath the sitting bones here if the hips don't come all the way down, and then we walk the hands forward. Now, especially because we're trying to relax here, I want the forehead to be resting on something. So if it doesn't make it to the ground, then we're putting something under the forehead. So once we're here, arms are straight out in front, but we're relaxing the shoulders down. So we're not doing any extra work here to keep the shoulders in any particular position. We're just relaxing them down and away, allowing the neck to release here. And each time I exhale, I just let something go. So that could be letting go of a thought that's been looping in your head. Could be letting go of some tension in the body. So taking at least 10 deep breaths here. We're not rushing. Just noticing that ground underneath you. How supported you are. Good. And then once you're done the 10 breaths there, you can slowly walk yourself back up. All right, so we started getting gently into the hips there. We're going to get a little deeper now with pigeon pose or figure 4. So I'll show you pigeon first and then figure 4. So to get into pigeon, we can start on all fours. We're going to bring one knee forward, right underneath the wrist. Then the other leg extends straight back. Now the tendency is for this front hip to come forward. I'm going to pull it back so my hips are in line. The top of my foot on the ground. Now I can stay here. You can see for me, I've got pretty tight hips, so ideally I'd bring something under my hip here so that I'm not just kind of, a lot of weight into my joint. And then you can stay up or walk the hands forward. I find coming forward and letting my forehead rest is the most relaxing. And I find especially with a hip opener, the longer you can stay, the better. But of course, we need it to be a place where you can still take those deep breaths. So using your breath as a guide. Good. And then we come on to the other side. So instead of doing pigeon on the other side, I'll just go over figure 4. And so I'm going to come onto my back, crossing one ankle over the knee. So not on the knee, we're just right below the knee. I'm flexing my toes back towards my knee, protecting that knee joint. And then if you feel a stretch already in the hip, stay here. You can always press this leg away from you. If that's still not deep enough, grabbing onto the back of the thigh, pulling the knee in, using my elbow to press my leg away from me. So you should feel a deep, nice stretch in that hip. You can let the eyes close. Now this can be pretty intense, and we're just going to sit with that feeling as best as we can. So every time the mind starts to wander, we just come back to our breath, back to our bodies. Working towards 10 deep breaths. If at any point it becomes hard to take deep breaths, ease out of the posture. You've just come a little bit too far in. Good, and then when you're done, you let that go. You can maybe give the knees a little windmill here. It can feel nice. Good, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the shoulders. So if it's uncomfortable for you to sit on the floor, you can sit up on a block or on a chair, and we're going to come into eagle arms. So if you've done eagle pose, it involves the legs as well, but the arm portion of it can be a really amazing way to open up the shoulders. So full eagle arms involves crossing one arm under the other and crossing them back, palms come together. Now this won't be accessible for everyone. I'll come at a bit of an angle. So if it's not, we're just going to cross to wherever we can, and then you can just grab onto your shoulders, okay? So knowing that wherever you can grab is totally fine. I'm going to come into the full arms here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to work the elbows away from us and up. So instead of letting them rest, we're pulling the elbows away and up. And that's going to pull between your shoulder blades, opening up the top of the back. And again, finding that deep breath here. And the shoulders will probably be tight. This will probably be pretty intense. But we're going to work towards 10 deep breaths. When you're done that, you can let the arms come up. And then exhale, cross the opposite elbow underneath, crossing the arms the other way. Shoulders away from the ears, pulling the elbows forward and up. Coming to that edge of sensation where it's uncomfortable, you know, we're working into some tight areas, but that full deep breath can still flow. So we're not backing away from any feelings that are coming up here. We're just breathing into them. And then on the exhale, we just let things go. Whatever comes up, it's okay. And when you're done your 10 breaths, let that go. Good. Move slowly. It might be a little bit intense after that. And then we're going to end with probably the most relaxing thing that you can do. We're going to do a spinal twist. So onto the back one more time. We're going to extend one leg long. The other knee stays bent. I'm going to move my hips over a little bit and then bring that knee over. Makes it a little easier to twist. Now that knee does not need to come to the floor. You can put something under it or let it float there if it feels okay in the spine. Always supporting if we need to. And then arms can be out to the side. Maybe you bend at the elbows. And then to complete the twist, if it feels okay in the neck, you can bring the gaze opposite to that leg. I come into that deep belly breath again. So I'm taking inhales that are so big that it lifts my leg up. My exhales, drop it back down. So at least 10 deep breaths. You know, stay as long as you'd like. This can be really, really relaxing if you keep yourself supported. So if it's too intense, I'll show on the other side, you can try different variations. You can try keeping the knees together and bringing them over to one side. You could try keeping one knee bent, one knee straight. You can have the feet further apart. Whatever you need to do here is totally fine. And maybe that gaze completes the twist the other way. If it feels safer, let the eyes relax here, let them close. Sink a little deeper each exhale. Just giving yourself the space and the time to relax. When you're ready, slowly coming back through center. And don't rush here getting back up. You can even go into Shavasana if you want and take some time here lying on your back. Just staying connected with your breath. And then when you're ready, you can come all the way back up. Good. So hopefully after that breathing, after those postures, you're feeling more calm, centered, present. And I hope you enjoyed the video. So my name is Kaya. Check out exercisesforinjuries.com for any questions that you might have. Give this video a like if you liked it, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.